Welcome everyone to a gameplay series on Democracy 3. This will probably be a nice, short, fun series. I don't expect it'll go for very long. Some of the options I'm playing with here, I have transitions turned off. I turned off randomized. Actually, it's default. These are all default except for transitions turned off. Political honeymoon, which just gives you some when you start. And I really like the music, but I'm going to turn it off just for the purposes of not being flagged on YouTube. I haven't tested whether or not that's going to be a thing or not for the sounds here. We'll be playing as the Independence Party, which strikes me as a pretty neutral name. My goal is not to make anything about this series political. We'll just be min-maxing a game, having fun, which means I'll be playing from an amoral perspective. I will not be thinking about decisions from a moral standpoint whatsoever, even though I may have my own viewpoints, and I'm sure people watching also have theirs. So we'll be playing with the default options as well. This is really just to take a look at Democracy 3. My interest in this was perked up because Quill18, I saw him playing Democracy 4. Turns out Democracy 4 is going to be coming out relatively soon. And I really like this game as a simple, fun little business management sim. I don't think it's a strong political game. It doesn't get the geopolitical things aside, not international relations. Definitely does not touch on that very well. But it just has a very simple model of governance, and it's broken down to a lot of min-max decisions, which is, that's just what's fun. So the first thing you'll notice is that although I'm president, I'll be playing as a governmental body. I'll be playing as both Congress and president, and I guess in some ways judiciary as well. That's for the United States, the three branches, checks and balances, all that. You'll also notice that although the United States has many more than 317 million, that's how many we start off with. I think this is from the 2012 census. Anyways, this game came out in 2013, so it's, my goodness, 7 years old. But it's still a good game. So let's begin this. Basically, this is an older game, and we'll even see that in some you can tell that there's, like Police Force, this is kind of like an interesting one that, I'll leave you guys to think for yourselves how this might be changing in the future. In this, massively increasing the police budget has no negatives, except for the fact that, I don't know. There's no negatives to this, but you don't have to deal with, I guess there's no there's a lot of outrage in the United States right now for unfair treatment of different races under the police. And that's not really an issue in this game. And actually, thankfully, because then I don't have to talk about it. Again, we're going to keep this apolitical as much as possible, which is weird for a political game. And that's one of the things that I think makes Democracy 3 not a very good political simulator, because you can kind of sweep those things under the rug. But that's a good thing. That's a positive in my book. We have 25 political capital. So as I mentioned, there's not really, you're acting as both Congress and the president and maybe the judiciary. You're really the whole government system. And the way that they abstract the passing of different things in Congress, in the US, there's the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And there's actually a lot of other parties, but those are obviously the two that dominate the political landscape. The way you get things passed is it has to first get initiated in the House, and it has to pass there, and then the Senate has to approve it, and the president has veto powers, and so there's, again, checks and balances, but this is all done away with here. You're allowed to pass whatever you have the political capital to if you meet the political capital requirement, you can pay your political capital to pass something. And this is just an abstraction. Obviously, it's a huge abstraction of being able to actually pass things. But it's kind of just trying to say, if the entire X party focused on Y topic, maybe they could find a way to reach a compromise with the other party. I don't know. It's not true in real life. But that's why this is just a fun management simulation. So first thing we're going to do is reshuffle the cabinet. We have 7 categories here. And the main thing we're looking for is as much political capital as possible. Now, if I go to show potential ministers, I didn't even look at the ones we had, so we probably should have done that first. That's my mistake. Just to see how efficient they would have been and all that would have given us an idea for how much better or worse the new people I pick will be. Anyway, what I want to do with this is just go ahead and go through the list. We're going to make a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet, yay! We're going to make a spreadsheet of all the different top political potential ministers. So 4.6 is really good. 4.6 is good. 4.1 might make the list. I don't think so. 4.9, Dan Lopez. In fact, these names sound familiar. It might be the same ones every time. I don't know. There was an option to randomize the country moving in, if you saw from the options, but I chose not to do that. Ann Cooper. Adria Andrea Price. Yeah, so all these are going to make it. So let me just show you what I mean. And I think I have, my spreadsheet window. There it is. Ready to go. I'm all ready for this. What we're going to do is on the far left column, we're just going to grab, let's see, Stephen Jones, he's going to make it. I'm sure 4.9 is the highest I've seen. So we're going to put 4.9 there just to remind ourselves of the political capital this person has. And then Stephen Jones is going to be put into economy, law and order, and tax. So economy, Stephen Jones. I might just put the first, I don't think we have so many names. Okay, let me actually do S. Jones. And we'll do this for law and order and tax. And that's it. I'm just going to fill out the spreadsheet like this. We'll grab the other different people. And I only have 7 positions that I need to fill. So I'll probably only go down to 7, 8, or 9, or 10 of the top people. I need to make sure, of course, that every column has at least one person. So I need to keep going until every column has a possibility. And then I also need to make sure that once we get down to the last 7th person, if there's multiple people who tie for the political capital they'll offer, we'll just include all those names. And maybe we'll base it on experience for who actually gets it. Because how it works is political capital is, I think, just 1-to-1 correlated with loyalty. Loyalty goes up, political capital goes up, and if it goes down, political capital goes down. I'm sure we're going to lose some loyalty from people as this, if we don't treat the parties, not the parties, but the groups that they're sympathetic to properly, like liberal and parents. I think liberals right now, we start off in pretty low regard with them. So Stephen Jones might start becoming less loyal because his sympathies to the Liberal Party lead him to be in disagreement with some of my decisions. Even though we're starting that way, it's just how it works. So even though if I make pro-liberal decisions from the beginning of my office, my time in office, to the end, he's going to look at how the liberals think about me even at the start. So, okay, anyways, let me fill out this list and then we'll be right back. All right, I inflated Excel a little bit to make it hopefully a little bit more visible, but there's our list, and the first thing the first thing I noticed when I was making this list is there's nobody in transport with the 4.7 or above political capital, and there's 3-way tie for 4.6, which is the 7th, so that 2 through 8 would be our 7 people, but we have a 3-way tie for 4.6, and 2 of them are transport, so basically we just decide between somebody price, A price. Who's A price? Should be this one down here. Andrea Price. So Andrea Price has experience. It's okay. Conservatives and farmers, that's a good thing. I think I can. Those start with pretty high ratings, and I think that'll be easy to keep their loyalties. So Andrea Price or Deborah Martin, who has even lower experience, and trade unionist, socialist, that's going to be a little bit harder. I think socialists will be okay, but trade unionist a little more. So it basically just means that transport is going to be hired as Andrea Price, and then we just go over here. We make this a little wider. Okay, so we solved Andrea Price for our transport minister, and then next we just want to see who's going to be next for the other ones. We actually don't really need the transport minister side of things anymore. Oh, that's not the right one. Window. Slide this one over just a bit. So what do we have next? Now we can get rid of Martin, and in fact, because we only knew we were going to get one of these 3 4.6s, we already made our decision. Just going to delete it. Mind you, I already copied everything over to another sheet. Which is always the design, what I plan to do. We'll just stick Price's name right up here and make this a little shorter. So next things next, who do we want to have? And it's nice that we have 3, 4, 2, 3, 3, 3. So this one seems like the best next thing to do. We have a choice between Jones and Henderson. Now, if Jones is really good, I'd rather him be at tax, and by really good, I mean if he has high experience. So let's go down to Stephen Jones. Thought he was... Oh, he's at the bottom. There he is. He has mediocre experience. Let's compare that with Henderson. Butler and Henderson. Henderson versus Jones. It looks like they have the same. Now, Henderson with Parents and Patriot is going to be a little bit easier. Patriot is such a high one for the U.S. Parents is Liberal's always going to be difficult because they start so low. So Stephen Jones is going to be a tough one to please, which means let's look at Alice Cooper. And I think it's Alice Cooper. Where is Alice Cooper, though? 4.8. Oh, Ann Cooper. Sorry, Ann. Liberal and capitalist. Well, capitalist, I think we could probably... Actually, I end up kind of slighting the capitalist a fair amount. So who do we want to do the taxes? Jones, probably. Even though I don't know... This is one question I have, but I haven't looked into and haven't found out. When they list their desired jobs, is it in order of preference, or is it just any of these three is fine, equally fine, they're weighted equally? Because obviously, if we knew that the one of them was, like, if Stephen Jones preferred economy over tax, we might weight that into our, cost function that we're optimizing over here. Anyways, it's fun, dude. It's just so fun to be doing spreadsheets in a management game. I love this side of it. I think we'll just make a gut call to go with. So Simmons could also do taxes. Let's look at one more thing before we make our decision. Trade unionist, patriot. Because trade unionist is probably the least. Those are the ones I end up insulting even more. So I'm just going to give... I think I'm going to give tax to Jones and Henderson economy. Yeah, this... look at it. We got to make this. We got to start making decisions at some point. So Henderson, Jones... We'll commit like this. And now anything else Jones was doing and anything else Henderson might have done, those are gone. Anything else in these categories is gone. So we'll just go ahead and... we don't need to spend too much time on this is the point. Let me just slide this over. Tax, hire, Stephen Jones. Okay. Economy, hire, Anderson. Mr. Henderson. Henderson, right? Yeah. A. Henderson, not Anderson. Patriots and parents, that one's going to be... I think we'll keep them pretty happy. Patriots, anything with Patriots is going to be easier to, leave content. That leaves Diane. She has her choice of... So that's actually funny. Butler and Diane Lopez, they actually share the exact topics. I would just... Let's look at the experience for them. If I remembered, hers is really low. So I'd rather her do foreign policy... because that's, I think, one of the least important ones. So we're going to have Diane Lopez do foreign policy. And then that removes these from her. So Butler will probably do... Yeah, so Simmons has to do law because there's no other place for her to go. Which means Cooper has to do public. And that means Butler does welfare. See, we got it all worked out. Nice spreadsheeted out. It's really nice. So, Butler for welfare. And then public services is going to be Ann Cooper. Yeah, Ann Cooper. And then Simmons, Charlotte Simmons or something. Towards the bottom, was it? Catherine Simmons is going to do Law and Order. Good, we have our capital. So now you can see that, I don't know what it was at the very beginning. I think it was pretty low, maybe 20 or something like that, 24. Now we're up to political capital, 33 per turn. So it's nice to do this right in the very beginning to get big, strong income of political capital, allows you to do more decisions. I can actually now go back and hide that window. We no longer need that for the rest of this. In fact, really ought to just be able to delete that from my recording window altogether. Good, so now what do we want to do on our first turn? Well, we spent 10 of our political capital doing, making our new cabinet. So the question is, how do I want to approach this? And there are a lot of different problems that you can start tackling first. My biggest thing, because I'm coming at this from like a tycoon itch. So I want to manage the debt first. I always enjoy this in Superpower 2. I played so much of it just trying to get the US to be an economic powerhouse. I mean, I know that they are, but to get them to not run such a huge deficit, not acquire so much debt. My first step is probably going to be to enact this. Not enact, but greatly increase the petrol tax. It's funny to me, I was thinking about 3% here, and I think when I started as France at some point, it was much higher, and it just led me to think that there is a pretty staggering difference in the price of gas over in Europe from the places I've seen versus here in the United States, where if I was to convert our money to the European standard, I think they do liters per, euros per liter would probably be the number. US, if I did the calculation in my head, I think it's like, we're something like 60 cents per liter, would be more or less what you're paying in the United States. It's very cheap. So I actually don't know what the prices are like over there right now. And of course, with the COVID situation, all the gas prices have just plummeted. But, it's a lot cheaper. Let's change that by getting a lot of money from the petrol tax. It's going to have a nice benefit of lowering car usage. The motorists are not going to be happy, but environmentalists will be. And it will have a small impact on our GDP. But it actually decreases motorist memberships, although it decreases their income, which in a way feeds back into the tax system and makes us so that they have less money, I think, that we can even tax, like for income tax. It also decreases their membership, which is good. But we don't have the political capital to raise that right now. It takes 36, which is basically we'll have to wait until next turn to do. So we're going to start off, and one of the things which affects GDP. So I'm looking at things from an economic standpoint. Let's try to get the economy straightened and get ourselves out of debt. By the way, just a reminder that this is 2012, $3 trillion of debt. And you may be thinking, $3 trillion of debt? That's so little. Because, of course, the United States right now has something like 20 trillion. Boy, things have really gone up. So the debt has gotten a lot worse, and I don't care. Give me whatever debt and whatever deficit. That's the first thing I like to balance in these kind of games is the budget. So we'll be doing the petrol tax, but GDP is also going to have a big impact on how much money we're going to make, because you can see the taxes that we get is affected by GDP. So by increasing GDP, we're going to make a lot of people happier. We're going to create some more problems, like the environment will go down the more the GDP goes up. We will kind of solve unemployment. It does go down, although this is green. So the way I view green and red on these is correlation. It doesn't appear to be exactly that way, because GDP, when it goes up, unemployment goes down. But I think this is just saying that unemployment is affected by GDP. It's confusing to me. To me, in my opinion, there should be a red that shows you that when GDP goes up, it's anti-correlated. A bit of a mistake in my opinion, from the developer standpoint. On the developer side. And one of the things which affects GDP, actually one of the things that affects it pretty sizably, is crime. Another one is this skills shortage thing, which we just need to, if we just get some education, or even, I guess, immigration. It's kind of strange for me that, wait, no. Technology increases skills shortage? Again, this is one of those things which does not seem to be right. Education will decrease skills shortage. Immigration would probably increase skills shortage, but maybe decrease? No, you can hire experts from outside. I don't know. Let's just solve it through technology and education, which is how I plan to do it anyways. Just it'll happen by itself. Basically, this will go away just based on the other stuff I'm going to be doing, because I will be prioritizing technology a lot. Okay, so let me think. What is it? I know the one I want to start with is public services. Yeah, community policing. This is a good one to implement. Liberals like it, and liberals start kind of not liking our government, so it's good to get up. Crime will drop. Violent crime will also drop. Racial tension will drop, which is also good. Liberalism goes up. That's basically just, I guess, the leanings of more people. I think this is essentially membership of liberals versus membership of conservatives. Unemployment goes down very slightly. And then there's two really negative things, which is this impacts nicely. Antisocial behavior and alcohol abuse. So yeah, we're going to maximize this, which is going to be $15 billion a quarter. That's what every turn is in Democracy 3, 1 quarter, 3 months. So we're going to start by we're going to start our solution of the budget problem by increasing the deficit. But that's because we don't have the political capital to enact our increase in tax quite yet. What else do we want to do? So GDP crime affects GDP. So I feel like one of the best solutions for solving GDP is actually just getting rid of crime. And there's also a lot of other things that you're going to solve in the meantime when you're solving crime, like getting rid of vigilante mobs, which has, I guess, doesn't really have that much of an impact. It just basically decreases terrorism. These things are bad, right? Having a negative effect on tourism is bad. The conservatives don't like it. So in theory, even though the conservatives don't really hate us right now, if they like us more, then we can do something else which they dislike, and we're back to square one instead of them hating us, altogether. So that's the idea. And then I guess we'll start planning ahead for some environmental work. And I'll do that by, Let's see, transport. Let's go to cycling campaign, and I think there's 2 cycling things. Bicycle subsidies. We'll probably do both of these. We'll at least start with the cycling campaign. This will increase health. The 2 things I think that we should tackle first are health and crime. Crime first and then health. That's all while we're tackling the budget. So I guess the order is budget, crime, health. But crime and budget are related because of the GDP issue. I think health might also play an impact on, productivity. So, and productivity affects GDP. So you can see everything's interrelated. You can just start solving any problem, and you're kind of untangling the ball of yarn of all the problems. So we'll also go back and transport. I think bicycle subsidies are just worth it. That's getting a little bit more expensive at $5 billion. Maybe I should look at something else. I didn't explain this, but the white are the policies that we have control over. Blue is informational, so you can see like health, we can't directly affect health, we affect it through policies. And then the red, and there is one green over here, technological advantage. Red and green are like outstanding crises, if it's in red, and I don't know, like outstanding positive effects that our country is either suffering from or benefiting from. So that's what the color coding of all these buttons are. And then if we go to the light bulb here, this is just to show us what other policies that aren't currently on that screen, because they aren't in place yet, we can also enact. Alcohol awareness is not bad. It's not a bad one to do. It's just a straight decrease in the alcohol consumption. Basically, throw money at the problem. Clean energy subsidies is pretty good. I mean, there's lots of good things to do here. Anyway, health food subsidies is also pretty good because it gives us health. I don't know. There's so many good options. Public library is another good one. This helps us with the retired. Oh, free school meals is good. Kids are happy. Keep the country tidy. Let's do this one. This has an effect on... I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's any downside. And I think that it just... just improves environment. Oh, so just makes the environment better, but also it makes the environmentalists happy. We'll spend $2 billion on that. Still have some leftovers. We'll go back. We're trying to get the most bang for our buck every quarter, which means that we're just going to basically eat a huge bill for this first one. Stamp out Racism Week. I think there's a better option, the Race Discrimination Act. I don't think this has any negatives. It makes the liberals happy. Conservatives are slightly unhappy. Well, they can go screw themselves for $222 million. I think this is fine. Racial tension down is a good thing. Liberal up, good. I think minorities like it, so they both like it. Liberalism goes up over time. Conservatives don't like it. That's not helpful for us, but hey, it's so cheap that we'll just do it. Generally what happens is I find that a lot of the things I do appeals to pay. Oh, where are conservatives? They are not happy right now? Maybe I miscalculated. Yeah, conservatives are not happy. Okay, that's a little bit surprising to me. I thought that the conservatives were really happy. I must have had that confused with patriots or retired. Okay, so we'll have to be a little bit careful about the conservatives. We have 8 points remaining. Is there anything? A healthy eating campaign. Only $2 billion? Not bad, because we do want to get rid of the obesity epidemic. Witness protection program may not be necessary. Bicycle subsidies, again, that's a little bit expensive. Tourism ad campaign is good. I don't see any downside to that. Welfare fraud. This actually, despite it being, it collects some income, but the income is much less than the cost. So just be aware of that. We're cycling around here, and I think that we're just going to be okay holding on to the 8 just to make sure we have enough for the petrol tax next turn. So let's go ahead and end our first turn. And let's see how everything's going. Okay, so crime is up. Okay, interesting. Ban alcohol adverts. There's a proposal to outlaw advertising of alcohol. The law is crazy. Either you have a ban on the product or you do not. Alcohol is perfectly legal, enjoyed by millions. Banning advertising of a product on a particular medium is a token gesture for anti-alcohol zealots, which does nothing but interfere in the free market. So I guess GDP, capitalists are probably not a fan of this. It may not stop alcoholism overnight, but a TV ad ban is a step in the right direction. I think I'm okay approving this ban because, again, I mean, I try to take my moral compass out of this and just think about it. This is probably a capitalist decrease, possibly a GDP down, but it helps me control the alcohol situation, which I don't know if there's necessarily a better way for us to do that. Global economy is actually doing well. Okay, so this is going to be a completely different game than my last game, which was the global economy plummeted right away. Debt went up. Debt did go up, yes, but the bigger thing is income went up faster than expenditures went up. So despite adding a whole bunch of stuff, our deficit actually decreased. Now, our debt is still going up, so let's use our 42. Look at how much capital we get. 34. So 34 times 2 is 68. I stand corrected. It looks like it is just double. And we could wait, and let me just go to some of the more expensive ones, like National Service is 50. Looks like everything in welfare is under 42, under 42. For economy, looks like everything under economy is under 42 as well. That's good to know. Tax, flat tax. I've done this one before too. I don't remember how it worked out, but it's only 43. We're only one shy. But flat income tax, I did try this at one point. It makes you a ton of money, as long as you can suffer with the poor people being very, very upset. Faith school subsidies and school prayers and stem cell research. Interesting that stem cell research is so expensive, considering. I didn't realize that would take so much political capital to be put into place. We have law and order, lots of things here, which makes a little more sense. These things are a little more anti-democratic. Stuff like mandatory microchip implants. Banning homosexuality is also very expensive from a political standpoint. Satellite road pricing, that's actually one that I kind of think I would like to try to implement. Okay, so turn number 2, what are we going to do? Petrol tax. Whoops, that's not the petrol tax. It's kind of fun to look at all of them, but so in my opinion, there's a sweet spot here where the GDP minus 50%. So look at how big of an impact it has on car usage. Now, it impacts motorist income, but it simultaneously decreases the motorist membership. So in my opinion, this is the perfect balance, right? Your motorist numbers go down, so that even though their income goes down, you're taxing less of them anyways. And this is gonna, holy cow. As it is right now, we're generating 35 billion, let's say, and we can get something like 200 extra billion a quarter for only a loss of 0.38 of the GDP. I mean, I might even push it further. Motorists are not going to be happy, but I honestly think that we get this is such a great trade-off, in my opinion. I think I'd be willing to suffer up to almost a 1% tax. Now, notice that the GDP, where we are, it's at 0. If you max it out, it's at 11. So if we go to somewhere in the middle, is it at 6? No. So there's a huge... I don't think this is even quadratic. I imagine this is something like an exponential increase. So we're looking at 45%. How's that looking? That's still okay. Let's try to push it all the way to 50. We're looking at 66%. So in between 45 and 50, we went from, 66? 30 to 66. Wow, that's insane. So it looks like around 45 is the part where GDP really starts dropping off, which is, again, that's not our goal. To get an extra 200 billion out of petrol tax would just be amazing. Now, maybe it's worth it to just suffer a small decrease of GDP, which we can just pay with all those taxes. I think that we're going to do this. With the taxes that we're going to make, I think we're just going to be able to easily refinance or easily make up whatever percentage of the GDP we lose here. So that's 250. Let's just do this. I'm going to do 51. Let's make it an even 50. It's a nice even number. 65%. I like that. This is fine. So that's going to be 36 of our 42. We don't really have much left over. We are expecting that the motorists are going to be very upset next turn. How do we compensate for that? Well, we probably just don't. Tourist ad campaign, but with the extra money we're going to be making, I suppose we should probably do something. Who is really upset at us? Environmentalists? Well, they're going to be feeling a little bit better next turn. See, trade unionists, parents, I mean, Parents are really upset because of the asthma epidemic, and that happens because of car usage and the environment, which is affected by CO2, I thought. Not directly affected by CO2. Okay, I would have expected the carbon emissions to directly affect the environment, but apparently it doesn't. So it affects average temperature, which is still really bad. Average temperature will creep up on you and you'll get some negative effects. Okay, so let's just finish this turn, and then I'll save and we'll pick this up in the next video. Because again, I want to try to make these around 30 minutes, even less if I can swing it. It's not easy to get Tortuga to finish a video in less than 30 minutes. Anything I really want to change? I mean, that's a campaign I already enacted. Science funding, I mean, I'm expecting we're going to make a lot more money. So look at that boost to the GDP already way overcompensates. I probably should have raised the petrol tax even beyond 50%. But I mean, we'll try to stretch that 200 million as far as we can. So this is going to be a cost of 50 billion, I should say. So this is already a quarter of what we just changed. If I could go back, I probably would raise that a little bit more. Let's just go ahead and completely boost science funding though. State schools, I know that this is going to be a huge benefit for us to do, but is it too early to do that? Crime. I want to focus on crime. So let's actually go to the police force, and this costs 20 billion. Crime goes way down, violent crime goes down, conservatives are happy, state employees are happy, state employee income is not quite as bad. Unemployment decreases slightly, and then these things are affected, which is good. So we're going to go ahead and do this, except for we can't because we need 4 to rate. Wow, we don't even have 4. Okay, we're at 0. So next turn it is. We'll do that next turn. We'll raise our police force up. See how that goes for us. Debt protection law. Okay, but more importantly, budget. No, it doesn't tell us how we're doing on the economy. Let's just take a look at this. Debt collection agencies. We can either limit them or we can allow them to operate. They're preying on the poor society after tricking them borrowing money at exorbitant rates. This is little more than extortion, and the government should act at once to limit severely the activities of such unscrupulous companies. People need to learn within their means. So I don't know what the effects of this will be. I think I will limit agent activity. I'm going to try to be not conservative with my decision making, as in choosing the one which I think will have. If it has an effect on my economy, I can try to compensate for that, but I don't want my people up in revolting. So that's kind of my policy on these flash events. We'll try to just take the nice guy option, and then we'll deal with the economic fallout. Okay, so I'm going to bring this video to a close here, just because it is the first video in the series. If you wouldn't mind pressing the like button, I'd appreciate that. And let's just have some fun playing Democracy 3 in the United States. We'll see. My prediction is that we will. My goal should be get the debt to about half of what it is, 1.5 trillion, by the end of our term. We're 2 turns in, so it's 16 turns. Every turn is a quarter, 4 quarters in a year, 4 years in a term. I mean, in a full term. So we have 16 turns and 2 of them are down. We'll probably finish this. I mean, I have a second term after this, another 4 years, assuming I'm reelected, but we'll see how it goes. If I even end up playing the second one. We may have already solved the United States problems by then. Probably not. So until the next one, thanks for watching, stay safe, and take care.